Hello? Hey guys, welcome back to the pod. I'm so sorry that we haven't been uploading for a wee while. Our editor's been actually so sick for the past 2 weeks and we could not edit. She couldn't even eat or leave the house, so we're just relax girl, you're all good, just get better. But she's now better, thankfully, and we're now back. So hope you haven't missed us too much. So today's episode, we thought we'd talk about growing up in Scotland and kind of how it's different from being anywhere else in the world. I'd say Scotland's one of those places where it's always considered as British, but Scotland is so different from England. I'd say it's got its own culture and its own kind of just its own vibe. And I feel people that live here and are from here know exactly what I mean. Whether that's a good in a good way or a bad way, I'd say living in Scotland is one of those things where it's you have to kind of be there. You kind of have to be there to experience it, because me explaining this right now will probably sound so foreign and so unfamiliar to so many other people that haven't been there and have to experience it themselves. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about that. So my experiences growing up in Scotland have been, I'd say it's quite good. I'm really proud to be Scottish. I feel a lot of kind of meme pages and that really glorify being Scottish, and I don't know, it's kind of good to be from here. I feel we've got a great sense of humour, and we've also got kind of great culture and just a bunch of really friendly people, and just some if you come over here 9 times out of 10 the Scottish are really friendly and just kind of make you feel just part of the team, you were never really away from the place. I don't know, I kind of, every time I go away, and I do miss Scotland and I do miss the people, but it has been quite rough. I think the roughest part of being Scottish is high school. I feel it kind of growing up and being a teenager and being surrounded by so many different things. Obviously you've got riddy culture in Scotland, and I feel that starts a lot, and you realise it a lot in high school, when you're surrounded by other classmates and stuff like that, and everyone's trying to fit in, and if you kind of are kind of slightly different, you kind of are picked on for that, or you're slagged or slated so badly. I know I was, but to be fair, if you watched our trends video, you'll understand why. I kind of did look a bit mental at points, so I can understand why people were a bit oh my god, who does she think she is in a way, and what's she up to, what's she doing. But yeah, high school was kind of high school for me was really traumatizing. Not getting into that, but I'm sure a lot of other people did experience it being good. I know a lot of friends in that had a great time in high school, and they just had a laugh. I feel with Scotland, it's not really we don't really take our education too seriously. Well, I know I didn't, and I know a lot of other people didn't. So it's kind of when you start in high school, going from that move of primary school to high school, it's such a big jump. I remember being so worried about getting into first year and thinking oh, this will be so good, you feel really grown up, and then you go from being the oldest in primary school to completely the youngest in first year. And I remember just being so nervous. I really struggled to make friends as it was, let alone being put in a new building with and being the youngest. It was awful. And I just remember seeing a lot of people just just everything, fights. It was just one thing that's normalised in Scotland that I'll never get behind is the amount of fights. That's it was actually a WWE wrestling ring on the fucking AstroTurf every other day. Maybe it would be a Wednesday, they would be oh, there's a fight, and everybody in the lunch hall would just bolt out into the AstroTurf, and we would just watch it. You would be cheering for whoever you wanted to win. It's brutal. It's brutal out there. If you get involved in that, everyone's filming, they're videoing. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's you have to just, you need to see it to believe it, because it's just the amount of fights I witnessed in my time in high school, and I didn't even survive until 6th year. I literally left in 5th. It's awful. It was brutal. Thankfully, I wasn't involved in any of them. Kudos to anybody who was, because genuinely, you would actually have your face plastered on meme pages or do you know what I mean, stuff like that. Everyone's Snapchat story, nobody was holding back. If you were fighting, and it was planned as well. I remember sitting in your classroom, just say the period before lunch, and everyone would be talking about it, like, oh, I've heard they're going to be fighting at lunch, blah blah blah, and then that was it. Like, it was just as soon as lunch they would eat, and then that would it would just kick off. It was like a time and like a finish, and then that they would be going at it, and you would just have to just be there to witness. There was a couple times I've been in classrooms where there would be people genuinely break into fights beside me. That kind of happened a lot in like the earlier years, like maybe say first or second year. Like, I genuinely remember sitting in a classroom and the boy literally right beside me starts scrapping with the other guy that's at the table behind me, and I remember he like hit me, and I pushed back. I was like, listen, I'm not getting involved, like, this is on you. And I swear to God, they're literally like, they're like, I don't even know how to explain it. They're doing like somersaults over each other in the classroom. Like, there's punches being thrown, but like, where were they? Like, it kind of just looked like a gymnastics kind of act. It was kind of like an acrobatic, like style. The way they're just like boxing each other. It was awful. But yeah, and I genuinely remember I was in French, and that poor French teacher, she was new, right? And her face just drops, and I'm thinking, this woman, like, she's not getting paid enough to witness this. Like she might as well be a guard in the prison cells right now, because this is worse. This is literally worse than what they have to deal with in prison. Like, these two wee boys, like, they're literally like battling it out, and the whole class is just watching. Like, they're loving it. Like, this is entertainment. Like, we don't want to be doing French, we'd rather be doing this. But like, that teacher, like I said, she's not getting paid enough for this, so she just stood there stunned, doesn't know what to do, clearly hasn't witnessed this before. So I'm like, right, maybe I should just be like, do you want me to go get somebody? Like, do you want me, like, do you know, like, do you need a hand? There's a couple other students being like, right, maybe we should, maybe it's time to like time out, like, come on, like, that's it, like, round two next, like, we need to kind of split this up. So we had to all go out and get another teacher to bring them back in, and it honestly takes multiple teachers to break it up. I don't know why they all come in acting like a SWAT team for two genuine, like, second years. But yeah, eventually they get split up, and then that's it, and then it just and the best thing about it is it just goes back to just the lesson. You've just witnessed that, and it's just like, lesson continues. You're back to just like finishing your, like, whatever you're doing that day in that class, and then the bell rings, and then that's it. You just continue out that whole day like nothing even happened. It's probably one of the wildest experience, like, and I feel like, coming from me, I was in like a public high school, like, it wasn't a private school or anything like that, so it was genuinely the pits, like, it was actually the depths of hell. Like, the school that I was from, genuinely, no offense, like, I genuinely, they've not even got enough, like, money to even sue. Like, this school was just brutal. It was just, yeah, it was the pits of hell, to be fair. It was the depths of hell in here. So, yeah, everything you seen was just, like, there was a guy outside with a machete at one point in high school, like, genuinely just walking about, and that would just be casually just spoke about. Oh, yeah, there's a guy that's been outside holding a machete. Like, what? Are we normalising this? Like, this is, and it was normalised. There was always like younger students or stuff with like drugs on them, and there would always be police. You'd always smell weed in the corridors from other, like, people. They'd be smoking joints at the back in the smoking area. Brutal. Honestly, brutal. And you were just trying to get your grades and leave. Like, I genuinely, like, I really wasn't. I was such a goody two shoes. I genuinely was like the biggest bully victim ever. Like, might I add? Like, so I was terrified to do anything, step a foot out of line. Like, I left high school with no demerits. Can't lie. It was to be fair, like, I wasn't even, my attendance was shocking enough to actually get like any demerits anyway. But nevertheless, like, you were just there to just get through the day and then go home. Like, listen, I wasn't there to like get involved in that, like, the battles or like, the drugs, or there was like genuinely, like, you don't realise how this whole like peer pressure and influence is until you're in high school and you just see everyone around a bike shed smoking fags, or like, you know what I mean, and then like they're handing them out. Honestly, like, and also like can I just say, like, the entrepreneurs that were in school as well, like, they ate it up. Like, they were loving it. They would be stealing packs of fags off their mom and dad that day to go into school, to then like sell them for like £1 each. So you're buying like a pack of fags quite cheap, and then you're selling one cigarette for £1, or say 50p if it was a good guy, and they must be making a mint. And you would always know who it was, because they would be walking about at lunch, and you would just hear them like chick chick chick, and it would just be their bag of change from all the students that they just completely just rinsed for fags. It was kind of crazy. It's like highly illegal, but like what can you do other than just like let it happen? Like it was wild. But yeah. So yeah, high school's a brutal experience, I'd say, for the Scottish. You got to kind of give it to them. You got to hand it to them. They know how to have a good time, like, even throughout education. There's a lot of places that I'd say are really quite, like, strict on education and strict on high schools and uniform, but I'd say Scotland just isn't the one. Like, it's just, if you're here for a good time, stick yourself into a Scottish high school. Stick your kids into a Scottish high school. They'll be living the dream. Another thing our high school done was on, like, when you were like in your final year, and you'd passed all your exams, you would come. I feel like this thing has been like completely scrapped. Like, they don't do this anymore because people were genuinely ripping it so much that they just had to kind of scrap it and like say like no more of this. Like, this is awful. Not that this was like a planned thing by the school anyway. But on like your final like one of your final days, the older kids would come back, and I remember genuinely being a first year and experiencing this. I don't know if I was like this was my first or second year, but it was one of those. They would come back with like purge masks on and like water guns filled with like vodka, and like it was just awful. It was just like the most crazy experience ever. And they would just come back and just like start spraying. Like, they would get into the school and start spraying everybody. They would like hide fish around the school, and like the school would just be stinking like rotten fish. I know a lot of like teachers, like they would come back and like haunt them. Like, if you'd ever been bad to a student and they were like, they'd survived the full way through school and they were on that last day, you were getting it bad. Like, you were actual getting it stinking. I've seen teachers covered in flour, eggs, their classrooms would be wrecked. I remember genuinely, like, they had to, like, lock the doors to their classrooms because it would actually get that bad. And I was terrified. Personally, like, I don't really, like, appreciate, like, being a first year and getting attacked by, like, the older years. Like, when they're dressed in pudge masks, they would come in with, like, the big, like, what do you call those, like, the foghorns and stuff like that. It was terrifying, and it would always be on break, so it would be 15 minutes of absolute hell. And the amount of times that I hid in the bathroom stalls, like, can't lie, shite bag, I know, like, I hid in the bathroom stalls because I just didn't really want to be covered in any of this. Yeah, I remember one guy from school, he actually got tied to a tree. Like, actually, like, they picked him up. They picked him up and they held him to a tree, and the other boys would run around the tree with duct tape, and he ended up just like hanging on the tree, and they just left him there. Somebody had to come out and get him down. Like, it was crazy. It was horror. It was something else. But to be fair, like, it's one of those things where you'll never forget. So respect for them to like allow that to happen. But like, eventually, like, as I grew up and like the years went on, they would start to like have teachers at all that. It was so funny. Like, this just should not be a thing. They would have police like outside the area, like patrolling to make sure like these people were not getting in, and they would have teachers at like the exits of all like the fire exits with chairs sat there like the whole of that break just to make sure no one was getting in. And then they would also make sure to like listen into like the inside scoop of other students trying to like let their pals in, and like, you know, like let the older years like back in, because obviously like the kind of younger years would want to seem cool, so they'd be like, oh yeah, like I'll let you in, don't worry, stuff like that. And all the teachers genuinely had to be on top of their game for that one day because they just didn't know what to expect, because it would get worse and worse and worse as the years went on until it was just too far, until people were genuinely like getting hurt, and so it just had to be completely scrapped, which is gutting, but like, you know, it's probably for the best. Another thing that kind of came with high school, I'd say, was be like the kind of like Christmas dances and like stuff like that. Like, everyone would just be drunk. Like, everyone would be drinking. Like, and if you weren't drinking, like, you were, you know, like, you just weren't seen to be cool. Like, you had to be drinking or sneaking something into the school, or, do you know what I mean? Like, everyone had bevy on them, or everyone was just showing up steaming. I knew numerous people that would show up to these events after paying, like, say, a £5 at lunch to get into it, genuinely be sent away because they were too drunk to get into the school. And it was so shocking, because you would always be at a gaff before it and just drinking at prees and stuff like that, and then you would show back up, and like, by like, say you got 10 people, there's at least 3 of that party is not getting into that school because you went too hard at prees. Like, you were drinking way too much. Looking back on it now, it was actually such a violation. Like, everyone at least had like 3 cans of dragon soup each, all these bottles of vodka. Buckfast was just like the it thing to have, and everyone just thought it was just, you need to down it, like you need to just down it as much as you can, because obviously you can't take it into the school. And yeah, I just remember witnessing so many people like whiteying outside the schools, police getting phoned, people getting escorted home, you know, teachers getting involved. Like, it was awful. So if I could give any advice to that, it'd be like, discreetly do it. No, I can't say that. Don't do it at all. Don't drink underage. It's a bad idea. I wouldn't do that. That's silly. But yeah, so honestly, like, just enjoy your high school experience, but be careful out there. Like, genuinely, my advice would be, if your school does anything like what we did, it would be just take it easy. Like, just hide in the toilets during the school, and then when it comes to the Christmas dances and stuff like that, just don't drink. Like, or at least just have a good time. Like, get in with your mates and just enjoy it, instead of getting like escorted home, because like there's some people that happened to, and no one ever drops it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you were the fool to get so drunk you're spewing and the teachers caught you and they're having to escort you home, no one's ever forgetting that. Like, people are bringing that up like years in the future. So just enjoy yourself. So I feel like riddy culture, like going on back onto that, was such a big thing that stems from, like I said, not only just high school, but just also your whole life growing up being Scottish. It's just like, I'm saying riddy with like the meaning of like red neck, like having a red neck kind of culture. So it's kind of like, like if you're getting a beamer, or like kind of giving yourself like, it's just an embarrassment really. Like, if you embarrass yourself, it's like a riddy. So like, it's like proper riddy culture. So if you do anything that isn't seen as normal, that's like a riddy. Like, that's involved as like riddy culture. So like, I don't know, I know a lot of things trending a couple years ago was like Goma Goths at like Glasgow. They were all sitting outside like the Glasgow, like, what is it, the modern art gallery, and like everyone was like that would go under riddy culture. There were so many meme pages, Scottish meme pages, absolutely ripping them. Like, I'd say that's a big thing about Scotland that people like speak about, probably I'd say the most. It's just like our humour. Like, we've got such a out there kind of like, you know, outlandish humour, where it's kind of like, if you're a snowflake, you will not be able to handle it. Like, you need to have thick skin. And unfortunately for me, I did not. I genuinely, like, anybody would say the littlest thing to me and I take it so personally. I feel like I'm actually really repping myself back in high school, because one thing I used to get called, believe it or not, was Tupac. I remember numerous guys would follow me home, because, and by the way, the reason I'd be called Tupac was because I'd be wearing a bandana. Like, I'd tie my hair up and I'd wear a bandana around my head and tie it at the front, or like, just like obviously like the way Tupac would wear his bandana. That was it. That was it. Like, I didn't have to do anything else. I didn't even listen to like Tupac back then. Like, genuinely, and I would just be walking home, like, please. And I would walk home myself, like, and I'd actually have to like avoid these boys who would genuinely like harass me. They would just shout Tupac, like, or they would chase up with me, like, grab my bandana. It was brutal. Like, people are probably like laughing right now and being like, Aleah, like, you know, people get like beat up on their way home and you got called Tupac, but like, I'm telling you, like, it really gets to you. Like, I was such a sensitive soul and it was brutal, especially in the corridors. I got it stinking, like, I cannot stress enough, I got it so stinking. But honestly, like, you kind of just grow up with a thick skin eventually, and you just kind of like, what the fuck. I look back on it now and I'm kind of like, to be fair, I could have been called worse. Like, you know, like, it could have been a lot worse. But I thought rep that today. It was brutal. So yeah, just watch what you're doing. Like, honestly, just don't do anything that could be seen as just like nowadays I feel like wearing a bandana or like any type of accessory to school wouldn't be really seen as weird. But back then, it was hell out there. Like, if you wore anything, like, I remember getting called cake face if you wore makeup, and then also like you would be called ugly if you didn't wear makeup. There was no winning. Basically, whatever you done, you were getting it absolute tight. Like, you were getting absolute stinking. Like, honestly, it was brutal. But yeah, it's brutal out here, guys. Like, just prepare yourself. Like, I feel so bad for anyone that's watching that could be just like starting out in high school and they're like, oh my god, like, no way. Don't worry, I genuinely was just like the number one, like, biggest bully victim ever. Like, I was asking for it. That's all I can say. I was asking for it. I was asking for it. It was called Tupac. I'm being serious. They'd be like, Tupac! It's Tupac! And like, I'm not even kidding. They knew that I wouldn't retaliate because I genuinely was just like, I was a gimp. I would cry. Like, I'd actually be crying, sobbing on my way home because I would be like, Tupac Shakur, like, everything. I'd get it absolute stinking. And I remember going home one day being like, what's Tupac? To my mum. And her just being like, what? And I remember telling my big cousin, and my gran would always be like, tell your big cousin if you're ever getting bullied at school, he'll stick up for you, because he was like that big scary older guy that everyone, he wouldn't even stick up for me. He would literally laugh in my face too. Like, my gran would be like, just tell him. And he, by the way, like, see, when your gran says that, she's lying. He won't do jack shit. He done nothing to help me. Like, I got it. He gave me the worst. I got it tight. I got it really tight, honestly. Like, if I could go back, I'd give myself a wee hug and tell myself to take that fucking bandana off, because it's probably for the better I didn't wear it. But you know, the best thing about it too is I would still wear that bandana even, and I feel like that's what they hated about it too. Like, they were expecting me never to wear it again, because I genuinely think I was confused as to why they were saying it to me in the first place. Like, I feel like I was taking it so personally. I didn't realise it was a bandana at first. Fucking hell. Anyway. Okay, so after high school, I feel like a lot of people, well, when you hit like kind of 18, I feel like one thing in Scotland, after you've done all the underage drinking and that, and, you know, you've just kind of you've literally lived your life to the fullest already by like 14, you hit 18, you're finally legal to go out clubbing. I feel like clubbing is one of those things where it's like, you can't wait till you're 18 so you can legally go. I know a bunch of people, I don't know if I can say this, but listen, I know a few people that have borrowed IDs and, you know, fake IDs, but like, that's, actually, you know what, hypothetically speaking, you can get fake IDs or borrow IDs, but if you've not done that, then you're pure buzzing to turn 18 so that you can then go clubbing. And I know when I was 18, I was really quite excited to go out and just like feel like an adult, and then when you go clubbing, it's, for me, it was so disappointing. I remember walking into a club and being like, this is the most disappointing experience of my life. Like, you need to be blackout drunk to get through half the nightclubs in Glasgow. I genuinely posted a video the other day there in the nightclub Cat House in Glasgow, and it was a genuine joke, by the way. And it was like the kind of rock club, and I had a great time. I'm not gonna lie, like, I loved it. I feel like that was kind of my first clubbing experience what I actually enjoyed, and the staff were lovely there. Like, I can't recommend that club enough. I feel like it gets a really bad rep, and I just kind of went off on that kind of like trend of like, it's a shite hole, you know, like, laugh at it. But I did have a good time, and I posted a TikTok and it got like 40k views, something like that, on it, and it was just like me absolutely ripping into it. Basically, I was just kind of dressed more kind of casually, and people that dress to go in there are kind of like more alternative, like kind of goths, or like, you know, kind of like punky, like metalheads, like they all like look scary. And I made a joke about how like all the men look like they smell like BO, and oh my god, the amount of backlash I got off every single metalhead that's ever been to Cat House was absolutely shocking. I don't know how so many people can see stuff like that and just take it so seriously. This is what I mean, especially when I speak about like Scottish humour and just like the whole riddy culture and everything like that. Like, everything's just, I'd laugh to the Scottish. Like, I don't know if you're not Scottish and you've met like a Scottish person, surely you know like kind of what I'm on about, or if you are Scottish you will know. Everyone just kind of like has a laugh and just doesn't take anything seriously. And honestly, the advice to get you through, say, anything like high school, college, genuinely would just be, don't take anything seriously. Like, just be yourself and just get through it. I feel like one thing that I regret not doing in high school was I took things too seriously. So when I did get slagged off, I took it so seriously, when even the people that were kind of slating me weren't even taking it that serious. Like, they genuinely weren't doing it out of complete maliciousness. But since I was so kind of like caught up in it all and felt like what am I doing wrong? Like you're not doing anything really wrong. It's just people would just genuinely pick on you for doing anything just to make themselves feel a wee bit better. But yeah, so no, I was at this nightclub, it got crazy views in that, and I'm thinking, oh my god, the actual club itself even commented on the TikTok, and at that point I was like, fuck that, like, I should not have fucking posted this at all. So I just went back on to actually check if I'd got the views right, that, like, just what I was saying was right. Yeah, it got 43.4k views, and like 3.4k likes. Clearly, like, it was all the golfs that just watched that and thought, she's a cunt, she hates Cat House. But basically the video was just saying, like, this Barbie got lost in transit, because I'd literally, like, the hair was it, and it was just kind of a reference from the Barbie movie, just kind of like how it was like, you know, like, I wasn't calling myself Barbie, I wasn't making out that I was anything I'm not. I fucking had a comment that I just genuinely deleted, because I laughed it off, and I tried to respond to it, but my comment got deleted, and I thought, well, why is my comment getting deleted? It's my fucking video, like, they're the ones slandering me. And it was like, and it was clearly like a golf or someone that is a Cat House regular just shitting on me, even though they didn't. Like, this is what I'm saying, they took it way too far. But I thought I'd just react to a few comments. But one comment that really got me, really just, this clearly a joke, was, you're calling your Barbie, no, you're more like a Cynthia. And it's like, Cynthia's like that. And I genuinely was like, Cynthia? Like, who was she in the Barbie movie? And I googled Cynthia, and it's like that wee frazzled doll. Oh my god. Like, and I genuinely, so I was googling, I was like, who's Cynthia? Like, oh my god, is she like, oh my god, slay, like, queen. And this is Cynthia, apparently. This was me. The girl from Rugrats. Genuinely. This is what they were like. And I was like, you know what? Not far off. The extensions are literally hanging out my head. So I was like, you know what? Real for that. But yeah, some of these other comments were just kind of like, most of the comments were kind of in agreement, saying like the place does stink and they feel bad for the staff. But, and most of them are just kind of like, the Halloween, because genuinely the caption was, most people were either wearing Halloween costumes or looked like / or did smell like BO. So they either looked like they smelled like BO or they did smell like BO. That was a complete joke, because that is, I just feel like, like, people always say about Cat House, like, oh, everyone in there is just like stinky goths and, like, you know, stuff like that. And genuinely the people were so lovely, and it was genuinely a joke. And I hope no one took it to heart, because I was literally in there, like, I paid money to go in there. I willingly went in there, like, I wasn't against my will. I'm no handcuffs. It was a great night. I genuinely actually kind of recommend it. A lot of comments were kind of like, the best nightclub in Glasgow, or like, Catty is top tier. I miss Catty, to be fair, shouldn't have moved home, ha ha ha, that's crazy. And yeah, there was just a lot of people saying, like, they moved away and they miss it, and I was like, well, for starters, that's wild, because I wouldn't say it was that worth it to come back. Or, like, went to Catty for 15 years. What age are you? Like, see, this is what I mean when it's like, I feel like there needs to be an age range on clubbing sometimes, because it's kind of scary. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of older men in there, and I did feel a wee bit nervous. I mean, it's like, see, when you're acting fine, fair enough, but it's just like, there was one guy that was getting dragged away, like, had to get, like, his mate dragged him away from me and stuff like that, just because, like, they're just kind of, it's icky. Anyway, if you've been there and you're maybe experienced someone being kind of weird to you, you'll understand what I'm saying. But, like, yeah, I ended up replying to a few. Oh my god, and this one comment, right, I felt kind of mean, like, replying to it, because I was like, why are you taking it? And I went into her account, and it's just kind of like, you know, the whole goth look and stuff like that. And I'm just like, how are you slandering me when you clearly are just like a Cat House victim? Like, you're in there weekly. Like, you genuinely eat, sleep and breathe in the place. Genuinely don't know how you can shit talk Catty. Of course there's people that smell bad, but it's not a bad club. The staff are great, and you always have a laugh in the smoking area. Well, for starters, I was so drunk, I didn't reach the smoking area at all. So I can't say about that. But I just looked on your page and was like, well, you're just standard Catty, like, you know, like, you are the criteria of Cat House. Like, you just look like, and the Cat House Glasgow fucking TikTok account commented, you're a goth now, saws, kiss. And I just replied saying, I had a great time, staff are so lovely, because I was like, oh my god, as soon as they seen it, I was like, this is embarrassing, like, I'm definitely going to get barred from here. It was literally a joke too, like, I don't know why people took it so to heart. But yeah, anyway, but 3.4k people who liked it clearly agreed with me, or found it funny, so I appreciate that. But yeah, like, the club was great, like, genuinely, the people were lovely, and people were saying that the staff were kind of horrible to them or weird to them. The staff were great to me, like, I can't even complain, and the club was, like, quite clean, considered to have half the clubs that I've actually been to, so I can't say anything on it. And also the music was great. It wasn't all just rock either, so if you don't even like rock, there was one room where they were playing like Eminem and like Gwen Stefani and like stuff like that. I was eating that up. Listen, I do like rock and stuff like that, so I did enjoy it. Like, I didn't look, the point was, I didn't look like I belonged in there, even though I do have a lot of kind of like, you know, kind of alt friends and stuff like that, and plus I was a goth literally a couple years ago, you know, like not even that long ago, and I feel like some people could still consider me a goth, so I don't know, it was kind of like one of those ones where it's like, I didn't look like I'd fit in for that club, but it was great nevertheless. But there's a lot of kind of clubs where it's kind of like just for like a uni, so there's like a town where like I live near, and there's one club in it, like the whole thing, like there's only one club. Well, from the town that I'm in, there's one club, and then there's another town, or kind of like it's kind of like small city beside that, where there's only one club, and there's obviously a uni there. So every uni student just goes there, and it's kind of like more, I'd say, for kind of societies and like kind of groups like that. Like if you're in a football team or like a rugby team, or you know, you're on one of like any like the groups that they do, like if you're a party fucking pitch perfect, like on a Wednesday, all you and the gals will go there, and you'll just get mortal. Like going into that club at 21 feels so wrong. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of for like more freshers. Like they always have fresher events, and honestly, see if you're not a fresher, or like if you, it's even say like maybe 25 and under, like if you're over the age of 25 and you're going to freshers events, reevaluate your life, please. Like honestly, just have a wee think and be like, a freshers event, I'm not at uni and I'm also over the age of like most uni people, don't go to it. Like that, I just feel like that's so wrong in so many levels. Like I remember going to freshers events with a couple of my friends when they were like younger, and like they just got into uni and they had like +1s, and I would go because I'm sorry, but I'm not a uni gal. I'm not, it's not for me. I genuinely feel like that is like a prison sentence that people are willingly doing. Like, so respect, if you're at uni, so much respect for you, but it's not for me. And the way these people party is so hardcore. Like, I have never seen like, and it's always these like proper like posh like mums, let's say their mums and dads have paid them to get the best education possible, like paid them maybe even get into the uni because their grades have been shit, and they are going hard. They are on multiple substances, multiple like spirits that whole night. It's a nightmare. I have never seen people party so hard, and they're always so young, and you just kind of feel bad for them. Honestly, you just see them in the clubs and you just think, oh my god. And there's another thing, people video it. If you're like, honestly, please, like, my worst nightmare is being so fucked up, my pals get the camera out and video you, and then the next day you're waking up, you don't remember a thing, and then you just see in all the Snapchat stories, it's just you being mortal on the floor of a club. Like, I remember I spoke to a guy who's in one of the societies, like, and he's kind of, he says like 20, so he's like an alright age to kind of like still go out and stuff like that and get away with it. But he's like, yeah, it's kind of just embarrassing now. Like, people in clubs just don't know how to act. And, like, that's a big thing. I'd say, like, you need to wait until you're 18 to go clubbing. But I'd say after you're 21 plus, it's just kind of, like, no bueno. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, clubbing for me now at this age, I feel genuinely so old. And I'm only 21. Like, I feel like I should still be able to go clubbing and still feel like I'm in the age range of being kind of accepted into the place. But it's not really like that now, because people don't know how to act. It's like animalistic behaviour. I've never seen people act the way it is. And I'm asking him, I'm like, what's your opinion? Because he's in the society, and obviously I don't go to uni or anything like that, so I kind of do ask for opinions to kind of get like a good kind of like idea of what it's like. And he goes, oh wait, like, he just pulls up this video and shows me, and it's, I don't know if he knows the guy, and he's like, they're like kissing in the club, and for starters, to me, weird. It's not really like a thing for me. Like, as soon as I see people like winching in a club and all their pals are filming them with a flash on, I'm like, surely you can see the flash. So surely you know, like, how drunk can you be to not see the flash and know? And part of me thinks these people know and they think it's cool, so that's why they just keep going. So these people are winching, like, they're going after it. And then the guy, it must be like a running joke that he does, he just like holds her and just falls back, and they just go like this, like, and they just hit the floor. And I'm watching this thinking, oh my god, like, can you just imagine being that poor girl? And I'm thinking, oh my god, that poor girl, like, hope she's okay. And then the most and the most violating thing I just see next is they're still at it, like, on the floor. And suddenly I'm thinking, oh, maybe not, poor girl. Like, what the hell? Like, maybe she's into that. Like, what the hell? And I'm just thinking, like, this is why you can't go clubbing and you can't have nice things, because people act like that. Genuinely, like, you'd be just trying to have a dance and you turn around and that happens. You know, like, I don't know. There's a lot worse things that happens in clubs, like fights and stuff like that, which is so fair. But see, when you're acting that feral, it's kind of like, oh my god, the toilets are always an absolute abomination. I don't know what it is about people getting drunk and forgetting how to, like, pish in a pan, pish in the huge bowl. I feel like they like to play a game of pish around it and maybe even shit on the wall. The bit clubs I've been in, there's shit on a wall or toilet paper everywhere. There's no toilet paper left. It's hell in there. It's carnage. And the only person who's there to save you is that poor employee that's in that toilet. You know, like the one that sells the lollies that are like a fucking, like a quid. Like, you get a lolly for 20p at the shop, suddenly it's a quid in there. You know, like, everything's just bumped up. They're offering you aftershave or wipes, or they're offering to clean your hands for you so you can pay them. And honestly, the amount of people I've known that have been so drunk that they've done that, and they've genuinely been like, here you go, and it's been like a 20 quid. And because they've been so drunk, they must make a good amount of money off just drunk people. And I don't know why, like, people just normalise that. Like, they come out, like, or like the aftershaves, like they spray aftershave on guys or perfume on girls and stuff like that. It's kind of cute, like, to be fair, but it's just crazy how, like, that's normalised here. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been anywhere other than Scotland out and seen, like, maybe I'm wrong, but I've never seen anyone in the bathrooms washing people's hands for them so you could give them like a quid or like a couple quid. I love how I've been like been talking about, like, this is about Scotland, like growing up in Scottish, and I've just talked about alcohol the whole time. But it's kind of a big part of, like, kind of growing up and being social and stuff like that, is like the pubs and clubs and just, you know, drinking in fields when you're younger and just stuff like that. Like, I feel like that's what's not really normalised anywhere else, but kind of more normalised here. Like, you know, you go play a couple games of pool with your friend and you get a pint or, like, you know, like a wee vodka. But yeah, so I'd say that's kind of like a big part. It's just like of Scotland too. It's like pubs. Like, I know a lot of times friends would just be like, "Do you want to just go out to the pub? Do you want to just go to the pub?" And it's not just filled with old men. There is a lot of old men. That can be quite weird at times, but majority of them you just get a laugh with, and it's just a good time. And I'd say it's a lot safer than going clubbing too. It's easier to kind of like keep an eye on your drinks and stuff like that. Like, I feel like spiking is a big thing. Like, I know in a lot of places, but again in Scotland, like, there's a lot of my friends that have been spiked and stuff like that, which is awful. There's a lot of ways to prevent getting spiked now as well, which I think is great. Like, I loved watching all those kind of like businesses and stuff like that came out with like the little like the weird like cup kind of like condoms that you just like stick on the top of your cup and then just stick your straw through it. Like, that, those looked crazy, but like were so inventive that you just wouldn't think of doing that. 110% though, people will manage to still find a way of getting into it, which is the horrible part, but it was a nice thought. It was a semi-nice thought to keep people protected out there, you know. But one thing that I do and have experienced in Scotland that I have experienced when I'm on holiday too, and it just goes to show that this isn't just like a kind of Scottish thing, this is like, they're everywhere, is these like creepy men. Like, genuinely, like, I've been travelling to a few places before and just like came across like British guys who are just like so strange, or just like not even just like men that are just being so strange and kind of so creepy. I don't think they've all been British, but the two that I'm going to talk about, one was British and one I have no idea. I have no idea where he was from. I can't pinpoint the accent at all, but I'll get to that one next. The first one, I was in Barcelona and I'm with a couple of my friends. They're two girls and we're all 19. At this point, I think we're all 19. Dare I say one might have been 18 at the time. I'm not too sure. And we're just sat at this Irish pub. We'd just finished like a whole day at like the beach and stuff like that, and we just sat down for a drink because it was our final night. We had a flight to catch the next morning. And we're thinking, oh yeah, we'll just sit down and have a drink. Like, we're not big drinkers at this point anyway, but we're thinking final night, go out with a bang, you know, just have a nice time. And so we're sat down, we all order like a wee bottle of beer, and we're all just kind of drinking. And this like man walks past, and he's in like a full kind of suit. kind of looking thing. Like, he's like business, kind of like proper business looking man, and he's got his little bag, and he's like rummaging through it, and we can just see him. And stupidly enough, we kind of sat at the table closest to like the strip, which is probably kind of like a bad idea. We should have maybe sat more in to like the pub way rather than kind of like out, so people couldn't see us as much. But we didn't think about that. Like, I just feel like a lot of people probably are like, oh my god, you guys are so naive, but like, please, like, this is our first kind of trip like away from family and kind of on our own, so like we had no idea what to expect. And we do kind of, like, I hate to say it, but like back then I did kind of see the best in people rather than like think, oh my god, like, we're gonna get kidnapped. So I did kind of, I was like, we're safe, we'll be alright. And I thought, since we were at an Irish pub, and the woman was like, the way she was just like really quite overly friendly, like she was just really nice. So I just thought like, oh, we'll be alright, like, because we were kind of like not pally, but kind of just talking to her in a way of a sense of like we'd made a kind of friend. So we were just kind of sat there, and this guy again rummaging through his bag, and I'm thinking, oh my god, like, that guy, like, he's looking for something, like I wonder what, like, you know, nothing, not really thinking much of it. And then he shouts over to us, he's like, Scottish, and he does like a Scottish accent, like a really shit Scottish accent, and we're like, yeah, like, we're Scottish. And he's like, oh, I'm Scottish too. And I just love when someone does a fake Scottish accent, because it's always like this, and they always just over-accentuate. They always sound like it's so awful. It's just the way that... So we're kind of looking at each other and kind of laughing, like we know he's like definitely not Scottish. And he comes over, and then he just immediately starts speaking, like he tries to say he's Scottish and that and stuff like that. And we're just kind of a bit like, like, this is kind of weird, like, but we're not thinking much of it. And then he starts speaking English, and we're like, alright, right, this is strange. And he's kind of like, can I just look for my headphones, like, on your table? Like, is that alright? And I'm thinking, yeah, go for it. Like, he's just rummaging for his headphones. So we're like, that's fine. First red flag. Don't do that. Genuinely don't. If anyone's asking that, just say, oh no, is it alright if you do it over there? I didn't think twice, and we just thought, oh, fuck it. Like, you know, like, it'll be alright because we've got each other. It doesn't matter how many of yous are there. Genuinely, just watch your back always. Genuinely, I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea, and my mum's probably watching this thinking, I raised you better than to let a random man do this, like, and fool you this easy. But like, come on, I was on holiday, it was first time, so, you know, first time for kind of everything in a way, and like, we've learnt our lesson anyway. So he sits down, and we're thinking, right, what have you sat down for in a way, like, but we're all kind of like anxiety ridden, don't really want to make a big scene in case he starts being all weird. And he looked like he'd been upset. Like, he looked like he'd been kind of like sad. And we're like, are you alright? Like, you know, what's going on? And he's just telling us about how, like, he knows someone that's used to go to this pub. Like, he comes here often, and like, he was like English, like a really well English spoken man, like eventually when he stopped doing this fake Scottish accent. It's like, yeah, like I used to come here with like this guy. He shows us a picture of this like man who's like from the pub, like well, not from the pub, but was sitting in the pub, and he was like a regular apparently, and how they like, he used to come over on this yacht that he worked on, and they used to meet, and like, you know, he used to always see him, and they used to sit and like have a drink together. And apparently this guy had just died. His story had said he'd just passed away because he took his own life. And again, we don't really take stuff like that lightly, so we felt really bad for him. Again, I don't know, being an empath, I was like, oh my god, I'm really sorry. Like, you could see him genuinely getting visibly upset. So I was just kind of like, I'm really, really sorry, like, you're going through that right now, like, I hope you're alright. And I mean, if you had photographic proof of this man and like some other pictures, and he's shown us all that, like, what else are we to believe? Genuinely the most naive people ever. I know I am, so I genuinely was just like, oh, no way. And then he kind of just like goes into like this story, how like he met him, and how like all these kind of other stories. And then he kind of starts saying like, oh, what do yous do and stuff like that. And like, it was just like genuine chit chat back and forth. And then he then just starts to like he orders a beer, and he sits down, and now we're all just kind of drinking away. At this point, I'm starting to get like a little bit anxious, so I just start ordering more drinks. Again, rookie mistake. So by the time he even sat down, I was quite tipsy. So now I'm kind of getting more drunk. Again, probably should have kind of caught it there. But I was just so nervous, and I just didn't really know what else to do. It was a really naive situation to be, like, I was really naive in this situation, and I just shouldn't have been. And then he starts to get into like more kind of weird stuff. So he starts to kind of make comments about how like big my chest was, and like, you know, like, oh, you've got such big boobs, and I was like, what? Like, you know, and then he's kind of like egging on my friends to agree with him, and like they're obviously like, hi, yes, Leigh, yeah, she does, yeah, like bestie does, like, you know, like just girly things, like we're just having a laugh. And then he makes like a comment about me being like, oh, you single, like blah blah blah. And this man is genuinely probably about 40s, and he showed us his ID to me, because we were like a bit like, oh, like, are you really being truthful about where you're from? Shows us his ID, shows us his age and stuff like that. This man was like, I think 40s, late 40s. And I'm thinking, this is crazy, like, you're old enough to be my dad and you're like flirting with me right now. I was like, this is so cringe. And so I hold up like my top that I had an I Love My Boyfriend top at the time. I was with an ex, so I hold it up and I'm like, sorry, like I'm so sorry, mate, like I'm in a relationship, kind of like jokingly, obviously, like because he's like old, like an old man, and I just thought like he's clearly just gonna laugh it off and think nothing of it. Well, no, he didn't. He didn't take that. Like, he was like, what do you mean, sorry? Like, what do you mean, blah, blah, blah? Like, you wish you could and all that. And at this point, we were starting to, like, freak out. We were like, what? He then starts to order, like, still sat there drinking his beer, and, like, we were ordering more drinks, and, like, I'm chain smoking my cigarettes. I'm sat there, like, we're panicking. We don't know what to say. At this point, we probably should have said something or spoke out. But again, you're taking 3 lassies with, like, probably severe anxiety and just, like, genuinely, like, the most naive people ever, like, just, we're getting taken absolutely for granted here. And he starts making comments about how young one of my friends look, and how like how much he wants to kind of get with someone who looks younger. And like, we're starting to be like, right, this is getting so weird, like, I don't know what to do. I'm starting to panic. And one of my friends like ups and leaves to go to the toilet, and he kind of like follows her in a way, like he like follows her down this, like, and then I'm like, nah, this is crazy, like, we have to go after her. So I go down to the toilet, and then she's freaking out, like, she comes back, she's freaking out, like, he tried to follow me into the toilet, blah blah blah. But like, there was nothing yet where we had like hard evidence to be like, right, this guy's being a creep, you know, because everything he was saying was kind of like in a joking sense, like, oh, joking, haha, like, I would never. So we were just kind of like, this is the strangest thing ever, like, we don't know what to do. And then he starts telling us he's got a yacht, like, up here. And I feel like this is like the evolved, I've got candy in my van, or I've got puppies in my van, I've got a yacht. And 3 young lasses are always going to go, oh, this is great. Not us. We're thinking this is crazy. By this point, he'd already showed us like his like business thing, because he apparently he ran this, like, I don't know if I can say this, because like, I don't even know if he was like a part of this, but it was a Vest bar, like, it was like a Vespa but with a bar on it, and he showed us all these videos. He was the voiceover. If you are him, we know you're not a part of that company, and you definitely just got paid to do the voiceover because you have a cool accent, and you're from like that kind of, you've got that kind of English accent that people want to use as a voiceover. You're a fucking creep, like, for real, like, you're awful. It was so weird. Like, I genuinely hope you're in jail right now, because the stuff you said was genuinely like abominable. It was awful. So he sat there and he's going on about this fucking Vest bar thing. And we're like, oh my god, like, a businessman, haha, like, sure, like, surely. And he's on about this fucking yacht. Yeah, you've not got a yacht, mate. Like, we know, like, I've came over here in my yacht, blah, blah, blah. He tried to get us to go back to his yacht. He starts then telling us, like, his sex stories, and how he's, like, had all these women on yachts, and how my 2 friends were, like, a couple, like, they were together, and he's saying how he's turned lesbian straight before, and all this. And at this point, we were like, nah, no bueno, like, this is bad, this is bang out. We then start to kind of get awkward with him, and he's like, you know what, if you're not going to come back with me, that's fine then, blah, blah, blah. He then eventually leaves without paying for his beer, and he just gets up and goes. And we're thinking, brilliant, like, what are we actually going to do now? Like, we are so snookered. Like, if this guy comes back, like, we need to leave, like, we need to just go. I go up and I then start to panic. Like, I am genuinely, like, in floods of tears. Like, I'm saying to the bar staff, I'm like, got really bad anxiety, and, like, you know, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've got autism. Like, I'm not mentally all there. Like, genuinely, a few screws missing. This guy came over to us, sat down, and, like, I'm freaking out. Like, please, can you help us? And, like, this poor woman at this Irish bar, she's like, of course, I wish you said something sooner. I was a bit, like, keeping an eye on you guys, like, just to make sure you were okay. But, like, she didn't overhear any conversations like that. She just kind of seen us, like, giggling along and thought we were fine. And we're thinking, right, we're safe, like, we're fine, we got away with it. But we had to obviously say, like, he bought a beer and didn't pay for it, like, he left it on the tab. And then eventually, like literally not even like 5 minutes later, we were obviously at the back of the pub. He then comes through the front door with another beer and then tries to sit with us. Like, oh, I'm friends with them. And by this point, like, I'm standing still. I'm genuinely still standing. And I'm saying to the woman, like, what do we do? He's back. And she's like, sorry, like, you have to leave. Like, you've made these, like ladies uncomfortable. Like, and he literally, like, eventually then gets, like, kicked out of the pub. So that was kind of when we were when I was in Barcelona when I was 19. And then just recently I went to Amsterdam, and I thought, genuinely, surely not. Like, I can't, like, I don't know, it just must be my face. Like, they just think, yeah, she'll be naive and easy to kidnap. But, like, me and my friend, I was there with one of my guy friends, and he's just, like, you know, quite, like, just really chill. Like, again, Amsterdam, it's just complete chill holiday, like, laid back, you're just enjoying yourself. And we're on the tram at this point, and we're going to, like, the Van Gogh Museum, and we decided to go there one day, and we're trying to figure out, like, what stop to get off at. I'm useless at using public transport in my own, like, in English, let alone a language I can barely even speak English, let alone, like, you know, another language. So I'm struggling. Like, we're both like, what the hell did we do? Like, I'm googling closest, like, tram stop to this place, and, you know, we've managed to pull through. I don't know how, but we've managed to pull through. But, like, at this point, we're, like, just standing on the tram, and I remember saying to my pal, I'm like, right, we'll get off at this stop, I'm pretty sure this is it. And this other guy gets involved, and he's like, oh, and he had this, like, such a strange accent. It was like, I'm pretty sure he was definitely maybe Dutch, but he was trying to put on an American accent to seem like he was from America. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know how to, like, yeah, just imagine that. Anyway, like, because I cannot fathom what else it could have been. It was just a weird kind of, like concocted accent. Maybe it was his real accent, I'm not too sure, but I'm 100% it was put on. So he's going on about, like, how, hey, like trying to ask if we needed help. And at this point, like, we'd had a couple people maybe stop us on bikes and go, do you looking for directions? And they were really lovely. Like, we had a good experience. So we thought, yeah, we're just, like, looking for this stop. And he's immediately off the bat sus. Like, he is immediately giving weird vibes. So I'm thinking, all right, okay, well, great. We're about to get fucking, here we go. Another one of these ones. Like, I'm going to get kidnapped and killed right now. And he's like, oh, you get off at this stop. It's actually my stop I get off at. And at this point, it was, like, later in the day, and the museum was going to close in the next 3 hours, something like that. And we'd booked, like, one of the last time slots that day to go. And he's going, no, like, you cancel your trip, like, cancel going there. You know, the museum's massive. There's thousands and thousands of artwork. You need to spend at least 10 hours in there. And we're looking at each other thinking, listen, we don't really give that much of a fuck. We're just trying to pass time. I don't need to spend 10 hours in a fucking art museum, do you know what I mean? Fair enough, it's cool to go, but I'm not looking at every single artwork and critiquing it, like, which is why we have a wee wander around and a wee look, you know, it just kind of gives us something to do. No, like, he's certain that we should not be going there, like, he's so stern about that, we should not be going. No, seriously, cancel your tickets, see if you can cancel them. He went, I'm stopping off there anyway, I'm getting off of that stop anyway, it's this stop, and he's trying to tell us to stop before our one is the one we're meant to get off at, and we're like, no, like, it says this one, like, and it literally had, like, it was, like, a similar word to museum plane or something. It was, like, that was my pronunciation of it, but it's obviously not how you pronounce it. But I remember just kind of seeing the word, like, kind of museum. I was thinking, well, surely, like, that means, like, it's right outside, you know, going to be outside the, like, a museum. So, and I just assumed it was that museum. Anyway, I was right. I was the right stop. Don't know if that was complete coincidence or I was kind of onto something with that. But he's, like, giving it all, like, no, you know, and he's like, you need to spend hours there, like, I'm from New York, and I'm just here because of this, and I'm thinking, you're, like, this is the worst American accent I've ever heard, like, you know, like, it was so false. I genuinely feel like it was a genuine fake accent to kind of, like, lure us in a way, and he's like, get off here, get off at this stop, and then eventually, like, it gets to his stop, and he's like, come on, like, this is a stop, and he just eventually goes, oh well, and then he just storms off. And I just remember thinking, like, that was so weird. And I'm just looking at my pal, and he's just looking at me, and we're thinking, what just happened? Like, what was that? And it was just so strange, like, and I genuinely, then we got off at the next stop, and we were thinking, maybe he was right, like, maybe this guy's right. but we were 2-minute walk from like the museum, and the other stop was like a good while away. So clearly he was like trying to lure us. And honestly, I was kind of thinking like we almost went missing. Like, we almost done a Kate Middleton. Like, we almost were gone. Like, we were almost last seen in December, and that was it for months on end. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was it. Like, we were last seen in Edinburgh Airport, and that was it. Like, we had a couple days trip, a bit of fun, gone. Like, honestly, I genuinely thought, like, that was it. I was going to die, like, if we went with him. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you just wonder what happens if I would have went with him. But I don't know. And it's always kind of people always playing on, like, they hear the Scottish accent and go, oh, you're Scottish, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe they just think naive Scottish girl, I don't know. Or they just immediately know the Scottish accent. But I just feel like it's so strange, it's so weird. But there was another travelling story on how, like, I almost got, like, maybe possibly sex trafficked. But yeah, I just thought I'd share a few stories there, like, on what it was like just being, like, I genuinely, maybe, I don't know if people think, like, they hear, like, the Scottish accent, they immediately just think, like, because obviously, like, you hear, like, the Scottish are really friendly people. Like, I feel like a lot of people do know that, and I don't know if they were trying to take us, like, completely, like try to catch us off guard, or they thought maybe we're naive, which I was, but I'm trying not to be as much now. But yeah, so I hope you really enjoyed listening today. I feel like it's kind of good, like, sharing my kind of stories on, like, growing up and, like, what it was like kind of living here. If you've had, like, the same kind of experiences, or just had any other different experiences growing up in Scotland, let me know. Or if you have any questions, if you're not, like, from here, please let me know and I'll definitely answer them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Catch you later. Bye!